Welcome to a new video here on the second channel. As you saw in the title and thumbnail, this video is about mounting your Insta360 on your windsurfing gear. What is the best mount for windsurfing? What is the worst? What are the pros and cons? In the last video, we talked about the Insta360 in general and how to use 360 cameras for windsurfing. If you're curious about that, be sure to check it out. We'll link it down below. And this video obviously doesn't only go for the Insta360, but can be applied pretty much for any 360 camera. We are, however, little disclaimer right up front, working with Insta360. We're sponsored, and there's a good reason why we're sponsored. I'm talking about that a little bit more in depth in the other video, why we prefer the Insta360. I've been using Insta360 or 360 cameras in windsurfing since 5 or 6 years. We'll show you some of the very first footage. Back then, we still needed a venture case around the camera. So the camera would come with a little case which protects it from water because the camera itself was not waterproof anymore. But more about that in the other video. Like I said, we'll link it down below. We also have an affiliate link for the Insta360 in case you want to get one for yourself. We'll also link that down below. You're going to get a free selfie stick. And now we're going to talk about different ways to mount the camera while windsurfing. There are 3 main ways to mount it. There's, of course, on the helmet, so on yourself. Then there's the option on the equipment, on the boom or on the mast, and then there's the option for the harness. Generally, when looking at the 360 shots, we want to differentiate because what's a really nice visual shot and a convenient shot. And what I mean by that is the further you get the camera away from yourself, the better the shot will look because it's less warped. Obviously, that's one of the challenges you have with 360 cameras, that you get a little bit of a warped view. So the further it's away from you, the less it will look warped. However, whenever you make an attachment which is far away from you, it's gonna be a little bit bothersome and cumbersome. It's gonna be in the way, it's gonna swing, it's gonna compromise your performance to some extent. So a convenient shot is obviously whenever the camera is close to yourself, close to your head, close to your gear. The camera won't have so much leverage to wiggle around the closer it is to your gear. First mount we have is what we call Teletubby Mount. I think reasons for that are obvious. You look a little bit like a Teletubby. And it mounts straight to the helmet. So you have your sticking pads, which obviously you can get at Insta360 or anywhere else. You glue it to the helmet and you mount it straight onto the helmet. With Insta360 we have the super convenient quick mount. So whenever we want to unmount it, we can kind of tuck it away and use the helmet like that. And when we want to use it, we bring it up, that, and we just clip the camera straight on, we lock it, and the camera's on. And what's also convenient, of course, is that you can just put other cameras from Insta360, like the Ace Pro that we also use. You can literally clip it straight on. So super convenient and interchangeable. So this one is obviously pretty close to your body, so it's a little bit more of a convenient mount, and it's not quite as nice as the next one we have, which is the mount that we call the unicorn mount. So for the unicorn mount, we can mount a carbon stick straight to the helmet, and this stick is super thin and light, but durable enough to hold the camera, so that's super cool. It's straight from Insta360, and that way we can just screw the camera straight into the mount, and we will get the unicorn. Also obvious why it's called like that. What's cool about this is you can put it to the back, you can put it to the front, and you get a little bit nicer of a view because it's further away from your body, so it's not as warped. It looks nicer, but obviously to wear it's a little bit more cumbersome. Whenever you have a mount on your helmet, whether it's this one or the Teletubby mount, you have to consider that you can't carry your gear on the head anymore. So especially for foiling, it can be a bit annoying. You have to clip the helmet to the boom and put the helmet on after you already entered the water. But those are the two options for the helmet. This one is actually kind of my personal favorite. It looks really cool how it follows you. Whenever you move your head, the camera moves along, so it gives this point of view kind of look, and yeah, we really like that. The next mounts we have are the boom and mast mounts, which basically attaches to your boom or your mast. We have the clamp from Insta360 right now, and we can attach the invisible selfie stick straight onto it. So here the camera just goes on the thread on top, and you can kind of extend it however long you want. But keep in mind, like I mentioned before, the further away you extend it, the better it will look, but also the more fragile it becomes, the more annoying it becomes, and the more in the way it is. Here, our favorite way to mount it is actually onto the boom. And then when you don't use it, you simply put it really close to the sail, so it's not as much in the way. And when you use it, you kind of bring it out like that, and that way you really get a nice view from far away from you. You can also tuck it away towards the bottom, so it's out of the way, but preferably straight up. That's what I do. The clamp from Insta360 is relatively small, so it doesn't have a lot of surface on the boom. So that means whenever you turn it, the clamp will twist around the boom and will damage your boom a little bit. So the grip gets damaged, which for me is okay, because here in the front it's not that much of a problem, because here in the front you don't really need the grip. Therefore, I can also recommend you the Flymount, because the Flymount goes straight onto the mast, so you can mount it on the mast above your boom, and you can basically use the same system. You can attach it with a stick, you can move it out of the way when you don't need it, and when you need it, you can bring it out. However, I think the Flymount is not as durable as this Insta360 mount, because this one is all aluminum, so I think it's less likely to break. Anyway, I always recommend to secure it somehow with a rope to your gear. In case anything breaks, you don't lose the camera. So Flymount is a good option for the mast. This one right here from Insta360 on the boom. Yes, if you're okay to damage the boom a little bit. That being said, whenever you will use the camera straight on the boom without the stick, which is obviously more convenient, it's not going to be in the way a lot. It just doesn't look as nice because it's really close to the boom. You will not have the problem of damaging your boom because it will just stay in place. It will lock in place. So the clamp won't move up and down because there's not as much leverage. This is much more convenient. It's not in the way. It doesn't swing around. It's just not going to give you as nice of a view as when you have a stick. And the same mount, obviously, you can basically put it anywhere on the boom. You can put it towards the tail end. You can even put it in the middle if you want to. We like to use it in the front much more than in the tail because that way you always see the face and you see what you do with your hands and with your feet. And last but not least, we have the harness mount, also an all-time favorite for me. Been using it since 5 years. Actually, even this particular one, I just sacrificed a harness and mounted it straight into the harness, and I just use this harness whenever I want to use the camera along with it. The mount we have here is the K4 harness mount. We will link everything down below so you can find them if you need to. This one, I mounted it straight to the harness, like I said, with screws. It works pretty well. It's been working pretty well for quite some time. There is, however, a version which you can clip to the harness and take it on and off. So you don't need to damage your harness. You can use the harness that you always use. There's a couple of different harness mounts as well from other brands. We'll link them down below. We've had good experiences with the K4 mount. Like I said, been using this one forever. So really like using that one. It's a little bit cumbersome when you sail with it. So you're gonna feel that it's there, that it swings a bit. It looks really cool, however. So you really get that view from the back, the kind of follow me shot. I remember when I started using it, people were asking whether I had a drone following me and what kind of drone it was, because obviously the stick becomes invisible. So it's a really cool view. It's a little bit cumbersome, especially when you water start. You have to make sure not to stick it in the sail. So you have to be a bit careful, but it looks very nice. This actually also is a really cool way to mount the camera when you're not windsurfing. Insta360 also has a harness mount, but it's not a windsurfing harness. It's just a harness for the camera. So when you go out mountain biking or snowboarding, you get the same kind of view, and Insta360 has the harness for that. In conclusion, keep in mind that whenever you extend the stick a bit further away from yourself or from the gear, you're gonna get a nicer shot, but it's gonna be more annoying. So to get a nice shot, to post it on socials or to show it to your friends, it's nice to put it far away, but for your everyday session, you wanna have something closer towards yourself. Our favorite mount definitely is the unicorn mount, just because it's relatively close to yourself, so it's not that bothersome, yet you get a really nice and cool shot. You have the possibility to vary from front where you can see your face, or to get this follow me shot. So we really like using that one. Let us know in the comments about the mounts you've been using maybe yourself, or which one you like the best, which kind of shot looks the most appealing to you. And don't forget that we have an affiliate link in case you want to get yourself a camera as well. Shout out to Insta360 for supporting us, because it's obviously a huge help in our production and the videos we also do on the main channel. And in one of the next videos, we're going to talk about how you can use the Insta360 or any 360 camera for that matter for improving your skills on the water, because obviously it's quite easy to spot your mistakes when you film yourself. So we're going to talk about that in the next video. Thanks for tuning in to this one, and I see you guys soon.